Hey everyone, I'm Alyssa, an Indianapolis Colts cheerleader for the 2024 season, and this is Believe in Colts.
Hey, Alec, thanks for taking the time.
No problem.
So early in your career, Alec, you had a fair share of critics via not jumping right on the field and having instant gratification when it comes to production. A couple of young players on the team are kind of going through that now with Anthony Richardson and your fellow receiver and Adonai Mitchell. What advice, I guess, can you give those guys from early in your career and now seeing everything kind of play out this season?
Yeah, the biggest thing, I mean, number one is just not to listen to anything anyone says online, because it's just they don't see the full picture. They don't really get to, they're not in the building every day, seeing the work being put in, seeing the things. It's such a football is such a complicated sport. It takes so many things to go right, just especially for like a receiver specifically. Think about it as the play call. There's the protection. There's the quarterback. So it's a lot of things kind of that go into it. So, and when your sample size is so small earlier in your career, like you can, you see some guys like will play really well their rookie year and then maybe kind of fade off, and then other guys who might not be as well and then play well. So, it's then that sample size is small. It's kind of hard to judge a player, I'd say.
Lawrence Owen.
Hey, Alec, building off that a little bit, actually, we all know that there's a lot of stuff that a wide receiver does, as you said, that it's not even doesn't show up on stat lines. For instance, the run blocking and stuff that has been brought up in the past
Mm.
recently. But there's something else that I've noticed with you specifically. Earlier this year, you have been getting a lot more targets downfield, and you're gaining the respect of defenses, which allows you, even if you're not getting the targets, to be able to help clear safeties out from underneath, like what happened a couple weeks ago when Downs ran that out and up, and you ran a post, you cleared that safety, allowed Downs to get that touchdown.
Mm.
Is that something that is discussed a lot with you guys in the wide receiver room about, running your routes at 100% all the time and being able to help your other guys out, even though you're not getting the targets at that time?
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, a lot of times, generally, my routes are the deepest route out there, and a lot of times concepts are, uh, deep and intermediate and a short route, and usually typically it's a lot of times the tight end or the running back out there in the flat, kind of on the short route, and you know, then it's usually the receivers working more downfield. And so for me, when I'm going downfield, especially early in the season, we hit a couple of those big shots, big plays. And then defenses will adjust. They're going to be softer to that. They're going to make sure they keep it in front. That creates a lot more space between that, in that kind of intermediate zone. And then you can still hit those big, 20 to 40 yard gains there. You catch it on like a crossing route or something like that, and then you're able to run for a little bit. So
Thomas.
Yes, Alec, I got two questions for you. Was there a moment when it began to click for you that was your role on the team, that you would be able to confidently make those catches in traffic downfield?
um, no, I mean honestly for myself, I've always known that I could do that. Like if you go back and look at what I did in college, it was a ton of that. So that's kind of always been my mentality. I've kind of always been banging the table saying, hey, like just give me a chance, start downfield. Like even if there's like it doesn't have to be open, it doesn't have to be wide open. If it's one on one, like I can go make the play. So it just takes building that trust in the quarterbacks, the coaches, just to understand, like this is not just like a play where a lot of things can go wrong. I always pride myself in either making the play, getting a pass interference, or having it be an incompletion. I try not to ever let him intercept the ball because that'll stop the coach from calling it or the quarterback from throwing it.
And lastly, is there anything that helps you stay locked in and ready to make that explosive play downfield when you may just get 3 or 4 targets a game?
Um, I mean, I think I'm kind of used to. I'm used to it. I did a lot of that kind of all my life. I've been in offenses where we didn't throw the ball a whole lot, and I was always there to make an explosive play. So to me, it's not like, oh man, I need to. I obviously like the ball thrown to me as much as possible, but I've kind of been used to not getting a ton of targets all my life. So um, it's just football for me. I've been on a lot of teams that won a lot of games, and usually, you know, it was kind of like a ground and pound type team with then play action over the top. So
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive 50% free bet up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics to baseball to Formula One. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE for your 50% bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online. The game starts here.
Christopher Jackson.
Hey, Alec, thank you for your time. Do appreciate you coming out.
thank you.
Two questions. In year three, what's really been the catalyst to you consistently kind of getting off to a hot start, whether it's, being able to make plays against guys like L'Jarius Sneed, or even really just being able to just get behind the defense and do what you did in that case?
Yeah. So just like what has been
Yeah, like what, and I'm gonna say, to kind of expand on that, it's just like, walk us through that mentality this year, because you seem much more locked in this year. And I mean, it seems like everything's just kind of been clicking. So just walk us through like that mentality going into this year, where I
yeah.
think the wide receiver room is probably the most talented that it's been, I'm gonna say maybe in over a decade or so.
Yeah. I just think, I always talked about in college, my coach had a saying, he said, say high tides raise all ships. And it's just like we had a really good roster at Cincinnati, a lot of depth, a lot of good players.
Yeah.
And that was something that we kind of took pride in, because he was always pushing the younger guys. Like, even though, maybe you have Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant, two basically all American corners starting out there, like, you're that younger cornerback. Like, he was pushing them to work hard, continue getting better, and kind of just like raise the talent level of everyone. Because then it's going to push, it's going to push Sauce and Kobe they're going to see that, feel that coming, and they say, oh, I got to be better because I got this guy behind me who can plug in and play whenever. So, that's kind of the mentality. I felt that a lot this year. And yeah, so it's been good. I think it's just something I've been comfortable in. That's kind of how I've played football, before the NFL. So, and that's kind of how it is in the NFL across the board. Think about it. It's all professionals at this point, so it's a bunch of good players.
Yeah.
Do a few more here. Marcus.
For sure. You mentioned earlier about the jump ball catches and things of success. Of course, you got a few years in now. Do you feel like the game has slowed down for you at this point or anything? Or like,
Yeah, no, it definitely has. You see a lot of the same looks. It's a copycat league. A lot of teams run a lot of the same stuff, So, and then you see the same teams a lot, like especially the divisional teams. You see the same players, so you kind of you're like, oh, okay, I know what type of player this guy is. What type of defense this team runs. So it kind of I think makes things a little bit simpler.
I'll do two more here. Lawrence.
Okay. So my question is, you haven't really had a lot of targets before this year, whether that's play design or quarterbacks not looking downfield or whatnot. But it seemed like a lot of people thought that once Anthony Richardson got healthy and was able to play, and then we signed a backup that is not afraid to throw it downfield as well. Was you expecting a lot more targets towards you down the field this past offseason, as much or as many as what you've gotten so far,
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
saw that?
yeah. No, and just especially too, just big emphasis in our offseason here. The coaches kind of came back. We after OTAs, they probably did a study on our last season and how we did. And a big thing they had said for us is that we just needed to be more explosive. I think, especially in the passing game, I think we wanted to have more explosive plays, like over 20+ yard passing plays. I think we were pretty low in the NFL on that. Just it was kind of how our offense ran last year. So it was a huge emphasis on just kind of big explosive plays, whether that's like deep ball thrown on the field or like a crossing route, but just anything that's kind of thrown on the field where you can get like 20 plus yards. So I knew for me that was kind of music to my ears because that's my game right there.
We'll go last one here, Destin.
So Alec, obviously we don't know yet the status of Jonathan Taylor potentially playing this week, but getting him back on the practice field and the possibility of him being back on the field in the coming weeks. As a receiver, as someone who relies on the passing game for his production, can you talk a little bit about what it would be like to get a guy like Taylor back on the field and get that dynamic runner back there and how that can open things up for you downfield?
Yeah, no, it's huge. He's a super talented player, a guy that's played a lot of great football for the Indianapolis Colts. So just having him back in the offense just adds a whole new dynamic. He's a guy we can just rely on to not only get the tough yards, but, break out a huge 80-yard run. So it'll be great to have JT back out there, hopefully soon.
Thanks for your time, Alec.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you,
Have a
Alec.
great day.
Do you believe?